I was going to say, in regard to the attack, the possible attack on Iran, I think the Pentagon's got a whole plan, not just to take out the nuclear facilities, but take down the whole civilian and military infrastructure in that country like they did in Iraq. They realize that they cannot just take out a couple nuclear facilities and then sit back and see what happens. They're going to take down the whole country and bring it back to the Stone Age. They're going to have to.
Well, that's like Serbia. Anybody who becomes first world and isn't controlled by the central banks will be bombed. Yeah, bomb them, have internal revolutions, and if they can just knock them out and have them be all screwed up, that's good. They don't like big glistening buildings and sharp-dressed people and people making money and being happy.
Well, the difference is when Bush attacked Iraq, the country had suffered under more than a decade of sanctions that killed 1 million Iraqis and 500,000 children. So they were decimated when they attacked them. Iran's not like that. They're ready to go.
Well, Iran has said they're going to fire 11,000 sunburn missiles at all the ships.
Right.
And those things have got a several hundred-mile range. They've got a bunch of missiles to hit Israel. Israel's going to nuke them. Israel has said, we're going to bomb you, and if you fight back, we're going to nuke you. And so I guess the world's going to see Israel nuking their major cities, and it'll be, good, nuke them. Israel bombed you. You're not allowed to fight back. I mean, it's so sick. It's like the riot police splitting heads, and then no one's allowed to stand up to them. It's a microcosm of that.
I think during this, though, Israel will have a bench-warming role. They won't be involved in the attack. It'll be the United States if it happens at all.
I don't know. Israel went into Iraq.
The thing about Iran, Alex, and their nuclear facilities is all their nuclear facilities are littered with surveillance cameras that are directly wired to the UN. Even if they attempted to create bombs, which is nuclear weapons, which is completely impossible, as Kurt said earlier, because they've only got 5% enrichment, everything they do is fed directly back into the UN.
Well, why is Pakistan allowed to have nukes given to them by the West? Iran doesn't. These systems admittedly get nowhere near the 95% enrichment. I mean, it's so hypocritical and ridiculous.
Well, it's because, like Netanyahu said, Iran, like them or not, and we're by no means fans of Ahmadinejad or anything like that, stand in opposition to the New World Order. They're not in the club. That's what he said a few days ago at the UN. They're trying to overthrow the world order. That's a direct quote. They're not trying to overthrow anything. They're just trying to be a prosperous and peaceful and progressive nation. And that's not acceptable in the eyes of the U.S. and Israeli military-industrial complex.
Just like our government has said, we got to have our standard of living lowered. And so they're bankrupting us by design.
Exactly.
Let's take some calls. Ted in Florida, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, hey, Alex. Listen, of course they're going to start all these wars because I'm proud of Ron Paul, but you cannot audit that Federal Reserve. That's the source of this whole apparatus, and he's doing a great job, but they're not going to allow that. Of course, they've got to divert attention and start these wars, and I'm with you, Alex. I believe that it will be the final world war. There's just too many things in place that falls in line with Scripture, for one. But I don't believe there's going to be any military coup like Bob Chapman suggests, or even my dad, who's 60 years old. I think that's more wishful thinking. There's obviously, when you look at all these things that are happening, whether it's Pittsburgh, Seattle, Denver, there's obviously way more. I mean, a majority of the military and police enjoy being thugs, and it's a small minority that disagrees with it. And that carries on through into government and political.
Well, you're right. This
also
is organized evil. And because the system has authority, any order will be followed, just like Germans would follow orders of Hitler to kill children because the Fuhrer said so. And these cops, if they're told to do something, they will take your guns, they will kill you. And we better, as a country, have a real talk about this, because the same banks that hate Iran hate this country. And notice that they're going to use the United States to bring in the New World Order and attack all these countries and then bankrupt us in the process, taking out both their enemies at the same time.
Well, there's something that people need to realize, and that's the power they have in numbers. And bringing up that again, the Pittsburgh and Seattle and Denver things that go on, the people I'm sorry, I'm not there physically, and I have a family here in Florida where I'm taking care of. But if there's something going on in Orlando, and I mean, this is just me, but if I see somebody hitting a woman, arresting somebody, all those people standing around, sometimes with only 3 or 4 little thugs, they don't understand their power. And I'm sorry, I know you're not for violence, Alex. I know you're always against that. You want to reach out to people first and reach as many as we can, but it's going to come. It's inevitable.
Well, more than that, and I don't do this from a cold-blooded position. The more images of them burning down churches, beating women, attacking old ladies with police dogs, this is waking everybody up. The emails are flowing in, the calls. People are saying, why don't we stand up? And the police are getting emboldened by the sheep that they're tearing the guts out of. I don't think they realize that the sleeping giant is rising, and they're taking the people's restraint as a sign of weakness. It's not. Why do you think gun sales are at record levels for the last year?
Well, I agree, and I hope that that's the case. I am a Christian myself, and I'm not one of these rapture freaks. Revelation 2:10 itself talks about, Jesus brings up that many of his followers will be tortured to death, basically to test their faith. I mean, if you're raptured out, how are you going to be tortured to death? You can read that Revelation chapter 2, verse 10, and you can back up a second, too. I want to bring up another issue briefly, if you'd allow me.
We got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Okay, back up to Revelation 2:9, verse just before that, where it talks about the synagogue of Satan. Jesus brings up this one group of people as the main cause of the tribulations that are coming. And I'm no a Jew basher or anything like that, but it is brought up in 2:9 and 3:9, Revelation 3:9 also. And it's something that people need to look into and learn about. You got to identify the enemy, and if we don't address that issue, things will never be able to be defeated. I've got 2 of the real quick things. I know you
Ted, we're out of time. We got to go to break. We're going to get to other callers. I appreciate your call, Dennis, Roman, Annie, Lewis, and others. We're going to come back and get to your calls with both our guests until 8 after. Then Mike Adams on the whole flu issues coming up. Then in the last hour, I'm going to get into the economy, the police state grid, everything, and more of your phone calls continuing.